Last year, my wife and I took a trip to the Olympic National Park, and it's a trip we took as a 5-year anniversary trip, a year delayed because we had our second daughter on the year that would have been our 5th anniversary. Now, if you've ever been to Olympic, this will be no surprise to you, but it is the most beautiful part of the country, the world really, that I've ever gotten to experience. We flew into Portland and we visited a friend from childhood of my wife, and then the next morning we got up after some difficulties with a rental car because apparently hybrids don't have the ability to jump a dead battery. We took off with some altered plans and altered stops as we were going into Forks, which is actually the home of Twilight. Yeah, the vampire movie. That's where we were staying, was in Forks, Washington. And as we're driving, I remember, as we enter kind of the forest, right? You see the signs, "Welcome to Olympic National Forest," and um, the trees were gorgeous. It was really pretty. It was, almost like a vanishing point as you're driving in. And the first stop we made was at this place called Ruby Beach, and we pull in, we find a little parking spot, and it's actually, sun is setting, so there's a lot of people coming up from the beach. We were actually just getting there as sun was setting. And I remember we walked down this path, and as we turn the crest of where the path enters the beach, what you witness is absolutely breathtaking. So you have this orange burning sky. It's kind of fading into yellow. There's a little bit of blue at the very top of the sky left. You see the water. The ocean waves are coming in. The sound is hitting the rocks because it's not a lot of sand. It's actually rocks that it's running on Ruby Beach, and you smell the salt water. And I hadn't smelled the beach in probably 6 years at this point. Um, and we walk down to the entry to the beach, and it's just all of this driftwood, these giant logs and these giant rocks and boulders that have washed up. And in the distance you see this little single island. It's huge. It's like the base of a rock that you want to climb, something you might see in like Yosemite, but sitting in the middle of the ocean. You can walk right up to it if it's low tide. The tide was coming back in, and so there's no way we could have made it. In order to get very close to it, there's a giant arch rock, which is so cool. You walk to this arch, and it's like looking through a doorway to a different world. It's not very big, the doorway itself, if you will, but when you peek through it, you can see almost like a camera lens just the section of the ocean and the shoreline. And when you walk back to come back to the path, and on the left hand side there's almost like a tidal wave. It's a pretty large, or tidal pool. It's almost like a small lake or pond, if you will. And you look down and the sun setting, and it was so cool. I could look down and I could see my reflection staring up at myself in this water. And it's the most gorgeous beach I've ever experienced, I've ever seen. And it's a trip that I encourage anybody to ever take. And I could go through a very long conversation about all the things we did and we got to see, but it was that first stop at the beach where I knew, man, this trip is going to be an incredible. This trip with my wife, it was our first time alone with the girls, without the girls, since we had two kiddos. We hadn't been alone on anything. This was the first one, and we had the best parents. And my wife's mother and father watched our girls for 7 days, and it was an incredible trip. Now, the reason I tell you that story isn't just to talk about Olympic National Park. Ruby Beach was incredible. The Tree of Life is something we got to see, which is also an Olympic. We got to visit the car that Bella drove in Twilight. We got to go see the very western northern tip of the country. and also another gorgeous view where you could see across to Canada. We got to see a number of different historical sites, and we got to drive all the way across all these things, coast, seeing the view. It was awesome. That being said, Astoria is a cool town, and we went to a number of lighthouses. And the reason I tell the story isn't to talk about those things; those are awesome. But it's because I think there's something as leaders that we need to do more, and that is tell meaningful stories. As I talk about Olympic National Park and I talk about this time with my wife and this incredible experience, it reminds me of how important it is for us to give the people that are in our care a story worth telling. Yes, there might not be the scent of ocean. There might not be these incredible views and beaches, but there is an incredible purpose in the things that we do. In the work that we show up to do every day, there is a mission behind it. And the story we tell, the story we give our people to tell, is going to impact how they view their part in that story. Kirk Weisler, the first breakout that really inspired me to do any of the things I'm doing now, whether it's speak at conferences, host a podcast, tell meaningful stories, and give people a platform to do that. He has something he talks about that has stuck with me ever since. And he says, our job as leaders is to give people a story where they get to be the hero. So I'm going to ask a question, and you might answer, you might not, but I think it's an important answer to how you lead your people. How is your team, your organization, the people that are in your care, how are they the hero of the story that you're telling? Do they know the purpose that they have? Do they know the meaning in their work and the impact they make every day? This idea of 1 degree shifts today, it's just resonating with me, and I wanted to share with you. I think as leaders, as those who want to make a meaningful impact in other people's lives, it's our job to give them a story worth telling, to focus on the purpose, to focus on the meaningful impact they make, and ultimately to make sure they realize the ways that they are the hero of the story that we're telling. So today, think about it. Think about the story you're telling, about your organization, about your team. Think about how your team fits into that story, and find new ways to help tell the story in your communication and your goals and the things that you do and the way you coach, that allows the people that you are leading to be the hero of the story. Thank you for listening. Go check out Olympic National Park and make someone the hero of the story. Make sure they know. And as always, go serve someone. Talk to you later.